What up? I'm back, and the album that I'm going to talk about today is Poison Season by Destroyer. Destroyer is fronted by this guy named Dan Behar, and he's kind of a indie, I guess you'd call him an indie darling that was really, really big in, the aughts. And I mean, even throughout the 2010s, his most critically acclaimed album is, I would say, Kaput, which came out in like 2012. But he's a singer songwriter, art rock guy who was also part of the New Pornographers back in the 2000s. But this is the first album that I ever heard from him. This is from 2015, and I heard it when it was new. And I would say that it's definitely tied with Kaput as my favorite Destroyer album. And just to give you an idea of how much I love this project, I would definitely say that, especially during as far as artists that I discovered during my teenage years, Destroyer probably lands in like the top 10 most impactful for me. I wouldn't say that his kind of sound is super influential on my taste, because all these years later, I can't say that I listen to too many things that sound like, say, Poison Season. And now that I'm thinking about it, there's not really many things that I've heard that sound like Poison Season. And I mean, even with how much it kind of throws out there. But I think that this is one of his most eclectic records, and I think that it's one of his most varied as well, which I think maybe is what drew me to it, because at the time, especially when I was like in high school, I feel like I felt like for me to like a record, it had to have like a ton of different sounds and ideas, because I just didn't have the attention span to listen to a record that sounded, kind of similar all the way through. And this record did that. This record, it definitely has, if I had to describe it in like one word, I would go with maybe Baroque. But, there's like lots of strings and lots of string sections and lots of like chamber instrumentation on this record. But I mean, every song, like, there's never a moment, like, I mean, for an example, the opening track on this record, it's like Times Square. So like he does this thing on this album that is really, really cool, where there's a song on here called Times Square that he records like in 3 different ways, where it's like one in the beginning, one in the middle of the album, and then one at the end. And it's like the same writing, the same lyrics, but they all sound totally different. And this album starts with like a really lush, super grand composition of him singing this song, and then it goes right into a song called Dream Lover, which is just a total banger rock song that it basically throws everything, the whole vibe that was set on Poison Season, out the window. But it is also so pretty, or it's like so cool, and it's such high energy. And it's not like it's just a straight rock song. There's like a horn section on it. But I think there is. I might be totally outing myself as a fake fan out right now, but oh my god. Anyways, it's like the momentum shift is so it throws you off so much that you don't even care because it's such a cool transition. It's such a cool like vibe shift. And then from there, it's like, okay, you got Forces from Above. It's like kind of another string-led song. You got Hell, another Baroque song, and then you got like Archer on the Beach, which is this cool loungy rock song that's just led with it's like this bass line that just carries the entire song. And throughout it all, his writing is totally insane. His writing is, oh man, if I could, he always reminds me of like, he's like a mix to me between like Bob Dylan and David Bowie, which is a crazy, crazy high watermark to throw out there if you're unaware of who this guy is. And then I don't even necessarily think you have to think that this is as good as a Bob Dylan album or a David Bowie album to see where I'm coming from, because he kind of has that, he always, like, whenever I do my Dan Behar impression, whenever I'm like singing to myself, it always just comes out as a Bob Dylan impression. And but then also he's certainly got like a David Bowie vibe to him as well. And it's really one of a kind with that in mind. Like, I know I just threw out these huge comparisons, but Dan Behar is a generational talent. I think that he is one of the most talented people working today. And even though maybe I haven't been as into his last few records, he's still, like, I still totally have faith in him. I mean, even though I'm not as into those albums as, say, Poison Season or Kaput, they are just, they're still great, or they're still at least very good. And Poison Season, I think that it's kind of underlooked in my opinion, because it came out right after Kaput, and Kaput was so huge, it was kind of like, okay, we have this one Destroyer album that we can all consider like his magnum opus. So now we don't have to really care, or it's like people weren't looking for what the next great Destroyer album might be. But this is, I would say, like, just about as good as Kaput. I think that they're just about on the same level. So definitely not something to be slept on in the Destroyer canon. I would consider it essential to, falling in love with Dan Behar. It's a thing that made me fall in love with Dan Behar as an artist. So yeah, listen, thank you. Thank you, Destroyer. And thank you for making it this far. I appreciate it. So yeah, see you around.